Cool. Hi there, everyone. We're joined by a very special guest here today, Eros Li. He's a Year 13 student at Wanganui Collegiate and the head prefect of the chapel here at Collegiate. But Eros is also a faith follower of the Falun Dafa or Falun Gong religion, and he's here to talk to us a bit about that and also his experience with religion, being a student and a young person today. So Eros, do you want to just start us off a bit by explaining what your religion looks like and a bit about its history or what you practice?
Hi guys, yes, I'm Eros, and the practice I do is called Falun Gong, more widely known Falun Gong, and then otherwise called Falun Dafa. And then it's introduced in 1992 by our master Li Hongzhi, and we follow the values of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. And it was right. So I didn't really prepare too much for this because I just came straight from our rehearsal.
Is it Eros? Is it a standalone religion or is it a branch of something else?
I would say it's a standalone religion, and then it belongs to the Buddha school, but it's a standalone, religion, yeah. And
sorry, in terms of your faith, is there one God? Is there multiple? Is there a God at all? How do you see your faith pass out in that sort of an aspect?
Well, we have one master, but we believe there are many other gods, because it's like there's a heaven with all the gods. It's like their world.
Right.
Yeah, and there are many different levels. Yes. Yeah.
Cool. And in your day-to-day life, how does expressing your faith in religion, what does that look like?
So since Falun Gong was introduced by our master, after like 3 years or something, it all just became word of mouth. And then at the time, there were over 100 million people practicing in China. And then later on, when the persecution began in 1999, because of the persecution, and then the Communist Party propagating to the world media, it actually sort of helped the Falun Dafa spread. And then since then, it's been spread to over 100 countries. And then, all of us worldwide, what we do is we have 5 exercises, and then we have a principle book.
Right.
And then
what are those?
Yes.
What are those 5 exercises, Eros? What do they sort of entail doing?
There are 4 moving exercises and then 1 meditation exercise. And aside from doing that, that's to help with like developing your energy channels in your body and stuff like that. Yes, put it simply, that's what it means. And then aside from doing the exercise as much as we can and study the principle book as much as we can, we're just like everyone else, and then we try to apply the different values we study in our daily life, trying to understand. I think one of the things that have helped me the most is when I come across tribulations, I learn to look inside myself.
Do you want to, just take a second to explain to everyone watching what a tribulation looks like or what it means?
Oh, tribulation is just, every day you came across people being mean to you, or, you did something you think is bad, but how do you deal with it? Or you had a very disappointing result, or, how to deal with relationship between people, if you have some, yeah.
Cool. So it's sort of like the moments in your life when you come across a bit of tension, a bit of opportunity for hardship, but also it's seen for you as an opportunity for growth, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's really amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I guess you have the really unique perspective with a lot of other people that I've interviewed. They've all had decades of experience exploring their faith. And as a young person, you're sort of at the start of your journey in many different regards. But I also want to, I think that example of the tribulations, that's a really powerful point in, determining how our faith is tested, what faith means to people, and really a decision that we choose to make. So as a young person, how do you see your faith sort of either encouraged or perhaps discouraged amongst your peers? What's the sort of tribulations you might come across as a young religious person?
Well, I don't just go around and sharing my faith to everyone, so I haven't received too much criticism, but too much, how do I put it, like problems from that. Right. But from all the people I've talked to, they seem pretty supportive, but most of them are atheists. But we're not against atheists. We just think, I just think, yeah, I felt like they're missing out on something, but they'll discover that later,
And that decision not to be open with your peers, is that just a personal choice that you make, or is it maybe an environmental choice that you feel like it wouldn't be widely accepted or regarded, or perhaps feel more uncomfortable? Or do you feel like there is actually a safe space for young people to choose or to choose not to express their religion?
Well, I'm not sure if I understand it correctly, but I'm sure if people can just keep it to themselves if they wanted to, but I chose to share this because I just felt like it would be good to expose, my peers and friends to something different, and then, just have a introduction to this, my experience of a religious practice. So,
Right.
And, yes, to share.
Yeah, and I remember we were talking
as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember we were talking a bit with Rivsu about this idea of living in a post-religious world, about how with a lot of social media or sort of like media representation of religion, that it can often be quite negative, or it can be quite stereotypical, and the way that it's produced as a very sort of like archaic or perhaps old-fashioned sort of thing. What do you think, like the exposure that you're seeing on a lot of media channels are expressive towards religion, and do you think there's maybe a certain trend that you're seeing for ways in which people express or maybe express their disdain for religion in a certain way?
Yes, I do agree. I haven't watched too many shows yet from the few Netflix I've watched before. It's just one of the first thing that comes to grabs my attention is like how there's a common theme of something against or discriminating religion in them, and it seemed so odd and unnecessary to me. But other than that, I felt like, and another thing that I wanted to share about in my presentation is I felt like all the time when we talk about Falun Gong and stuff, we just talk about the persecution and like the organ harvesting that the practitioners receive. And I felt, and there are a lot more things like community contributions we're doing, getting involved in community, trying to revive the real Chinese traditional culture. I felt like there's just another side that needs to bring to the attention. So in my presentation tomorrow, I've taken care not to include too much persecution related stuff, although Refsu said that's going to grab people's attention, but I felt like it's important to expose to the other side of what we do and who we are, like sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that sort of there are certainly a lot of misconceptions around religion, and you've sort of given us a general explanation of definitely that sense of community that we see pervading in a lot of religion. But is there something specific perhaps about your faith that you've either seen misconceptions about, or perhaps there's something that enough people don't know about that you'd like to share with people if they could perhaps take away one thing from your religion that they would walk away knowing something about? What would that be for you?
Well, from some of the Chinese people, they've always had a misconception that Falun Gong is a cult, and then people in Falun Gong commit suicides and burn themselves.
Okay.
And there was
yeah.
a news propaganda in 1999, which is sort of started the whole persecution thing, and that's broadcast to the whole country, and it's three sad Falun Gong practitioners burning themselves on the Tiananmen Square, and then afterwards, it's of course it's grabbed the world's attention as well, and then there have been many independent and international organization and independent people analyzing the broadcast, and they find many flaws, and it's just very fake. And then, but a lot of people still believed it because they lived through that period, and then they just they believe they're sort of brainwashed, and they just believed what the government have told them. But yeah,
like
I'm not saying that.
Yeah, you are in a way the product of your context, but I think perhaps then it's even more that you look beyond that and you educate yourself, and you find those resources and things beyond. So yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons why we're doing this today. So yeah, is there sort of a lot about that misconceptions and sort of what we can do? Is there something you would really like to see perhaps in amongst high schools, or that you're actively seeing high school students doing to promote that depth and that resource content into religion and into faith ideals? What do you think is one thing that students can be doing a bit more if they want to educate themselves?
Sorry, I missed a little bit. Do you mean what students can do if they want to
Yeah. What do you
more
think
about interfaith dialogue and understanding and stuff?
Yeah, high schools, is there anything that like we can be implementing into the curriculum? Is there something you think that needs to be changed within high schools to maybe incorporate more of a religious diversity, or even just more of a in-depth discussion of religion itself?
That's an interesting idea, but I personally think religion is a choice, and then you shouldn't be forced into anything. But then I think it's important to expose people to the truth, like the different perspectives of the religion, not just those portrayed in movies and social media and on the news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So just sort of widening perhaps beyond the scope of what you've been given, and maybe going out to seek what you're looking for yourself, what seeing that path maybe as an individual thing, but knowing that you're part of a wider collective of that religious interfaith dialogue, perhaps.
Yeah. Wait, I didn't quite understand, sorry.
No worries. Yeah, cool. Is there
Yeah.
anything sort of in closing that you wish to say, or anything that you think is super important that we end off with, maybe perhaps about your faith, or maybe just your opinions on interfaith in general?
Well, you see, because of high school and social media is a very big distraction, and then high school anyway, I really I've been neglecting my practice a lot recently. So well, I said might not be the best way of expressing it. But at the same time, I do think interfaith dialogue is important, because personally with the ref Sue at our school, I've although I fully understand her, but I somehow felt like this bit of a gap between the communication between us, and I'm not sure
No,
why
yeah,
that is.
that
But,
makes sense.
yeah, but I do feel like, a lot of the religions strips down to their roots. We share a lot of the same values.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a lot of the places, like every country or even little tribes in the world have their little version of how the world is created, and they also started with a of creation story involving gods and so on, and I thought that's quite interesting. So
yeah,
interfaith, so
yeah, sort of appreciating that, seeing it for what it is, and also I guess what it makes yourself and what it means for you. So yeah, thanks, Eros. And I think definitely like religion can take so many different forms, especially with high school students when we're very busy, when we've got a lot on. Maybe religion looks different for us, and I think because it's so internally diverse, I think it's more of a, in my opinion at least, more of an intrinsic sort of being, and sort of that faith that you'll have despite those difficult times, despite those tribulations that you mentioned, that you keep it going, and that you do. I think it's always just about doing the best that you can, rather than just trying to ascertain these like incredibly high levels and high targets consistently. I think the best thing is just doing what you can, and to recognize where you might fall short, and as long as you keep that faith, then that's really all that you can be asked to do. So yeah,
and trying to understand tribulation is not like compressing a lot of it and dealing with it in yourself. It's more of they teach you a way to try to understand it and then resolving it.
Yeah.
So I find that really helpful during my high school years.
If you have I can put up a few links or videos into how to be guided perhaps through that meditation for people watching, and the ways that we can sort of practice and bring that into our lives on the Interfaith website that we have linked in the channel. So be sure to check that out. But Eros, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. And I personally didn't know much about the Falun Gong religion at all. So it's been a real honor to learn a bit more about it from you. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Yes.
It is.